Hello, everyone. My name is Don, the movie reviewer, and today we're going to be talking about Honey Boy.
The only thing my father gave me that was of any value is pain. And you want to take that away?
Can I?
I know I'll make it with you by my side. Yes, yes.
Honey Boy is a movie that is written by Shia LaBeouf. It is based on his own life experiences, and apparently Shia LaBeouf wrote the script for this movie as a way to release some inner demons he had dealing with some past traumatic experiences with his father. And he wrote the screenplay for this movie while he was in a rehabilitation clinic.
When you have PTSD, you got to start writing. This is how you get to the solution. The only way out is through. So I started writing all these dark chapters, of my life, and it wound up being this script form thing. Sent it to my friend, became a movie.
This movie is directed by Arma Harrell, and this is Arma Harrell's feature film debut. Her directing in this movie is very exceptional. I love the way she captures shots in here. I love the cinematography in this movie. I love the long, drawn-out scenes where she just glides the camera around as we follow characters just walking around. I think this movie is exceptionally directed. I am surprised that this is her feature film debut.
Both Shia and me are children of alcoholics, and we both have dipped into a lot of issues that have to do with this cycle of generational pain that comes with addiction and how to break out of that cycle. So kind of coming into that and being so thankful for Shia that he wrote something that couldn't have been, to me, more personal in some ways and then universal in others.
Honey Boy starts off with Otis, who is played by Lucas Hedges, and I assume that this Otis character is Shia LaBeouf and his experiences in Hollywood. And so when I was watching this, it felt a bit odd to me, very choppy, because we just see Otis going through the motions in Hollywood. We see him acting in his scenes, and we don't know much about Otis. And I didn't even know that this movie was about Shia LaBeouf and that he wrote the script until I saw the end credits when it said written by Shia LaBeouf. Then I went home, then I did my research, then I found out. But without knowing that information, watching this movie, seeing the beginning of the Otis character and his progression, I was just kind of taken back by that a little bit. I didn't quite understand what was happening. I was just like, okay, we're seeing these experiences with this character. And it didn't really hit me until the character ended up crashing his car and getting arrested. And then it was kind of funny because while he was locked up, he was yelling and screaming at the arresting officers saying, "Why am I here? You know who I am?" Just very cocky and very arrogant. He's like, "I'm too good to be here," kind of thing, So that really sucked me in after that kind of choppy opening. After his accident, Otis is sent to a rehabilitation clinic where he finally is able to tap into his PTSD and understand why he feels the way he feels. And that's when the movie makes a jump into the past, going back into 1995, I believe, and we meet Otis's father, who was played by Shia LaBeouf. And I think that's very interesting that Shia LaBeouf decided to play his father in this movie.
I'd never initially wanted to act in it. I thought that was over for me fully. I was going to go join the National Guard or the Peace Corps or something like that, send her the script and dip off. That was really my intention. And that's how I presented it to her. And then she was like, "I'm only interested in this if you're going to play your father."
Shia LaBeouf's performance is exceptional in this movie. And I find it interesting that Shia LaBeouf wrote the script for this James character, who is Otis's father, because we do see a lot of scenes between young Otis and James, and we see how much of a rocky relationship that they have. They have joyous moments in their lives, and then they also butt heads. The young son is trying to build this relationship with his father, but it's very difficult for him to do that because his father won't let him in emotionally. I can see that Shia LaBeouf was not only trying to illustrate the relationship, the rocky relationship that he had with his father in the movie, but he's also trying to illustrate how much pain his father was going through as well, because we do see the Shia LaBeouf character going to AA meetings and describing his inner turmoil and him struggling with that. And then we also have some instances where he's freaking out at Otis's mom on the phone, and then he's freaking out on Otis over little things, and they're going back and forth. So we get a good illustration of Otis's relationship with his father, and we do get some details about Shia LaBeouf's character in this movie, about him dealing with what he's dealing with and how he's going about that. But Shia LaBeouf plays Otis's father, and the younger version of Otis is played by Noah Jupe. And I really enjoyed Noah Jupe's performance in this movie. With Lucas Hedges, I didn't really get a clear cut as to who he was. That's why I said at the beginning it was a bit choppy to see him acting, and then finally when he got arrested, sent to the rehabilitation clinic, that's when I felt like everything started to come together. Then he connects into his past, trying to deal with his PTSD and the experiences with his father. Now, at first I was taken a bit back when we went into the past with Noah Jupe, because then I was like, okay, is the Otis character thinking about these experiences from his past with his father? But then I was like, no, that can't be, because then we see scenes where Shia LaBeouf, his character, the father, is going to AA meetings and he's dealing with his own trauma. And I was like, okay, so the Otis character wasn't there when the Shia LaBeouf character was going through his things. So this can't be like a memory from the Otis character. This just has to be a selection of moments that is presented to the audience to illustrate why the father is who he is and why Otis is who he is, and how these two beings affect each other. I enjoyed the directing here mostly, because the shots that the director captured were, they were fantastic, exceptional. The coloring, the cinematography in this movie is great. I liked the tracking shots where they just follow the characters around. I felt like I could see everything nice, crisp, and clean. The performances all across the board. Shia LaBeouf, in particular, though, I liked his performance. He's a good actor, but him playing a dad, an older character, I don't know how old Shia LaBeouf is, but just looking at him, he still looks young. He still has that baby face, and I don't know if that was a wig on his head or if he actually grew his hair out like that, because I heard he's a method actor. He takes acting very, very seriously. Like, if he needs to smell bad for a role, he'll smell bad. But with his hair, it's like, okay, I can see you trying to play this older guy who's kind of like scruffed up because, he's been through some shit. And just looking at Shia LaBeouf, I think he should have just looked a bit more older, a bit more rugged in the face, because just looking at him, I didn't believe him as an older character. He still looks pretty young. Like, Shia LaBeouf to me still looks like he's in his 20s, like mid-20s. Like, he's still, even with his messed up hair, he still looks like a young man. So I didn't quite believe him as the father, but performance-wise, he delivered. And Noah Jupe as the kid was, he was great in this movie as well. I liked the relationship he had with his father, and the scenes where the boy was pouring out his heart to his father, trying to get his father to open up and communicate with him. I felt that stuff emotionally. And I also liked Lucas Hedges in this movie. I thought he gave a good performance when he was struggling with his PTSD and him trying to control his anger. I thought all those scenes were great. He didn't get enough to do in here. Like, all of the stuff that takes place in the present is very minor, where all the stuff that takes place in 1995 is expanded, so we get more stuff on his backstory versus his present time. So, like, I enjoyed Lucas Hedges' performance for what he had to work with. even though I felt Shia LaBeouf looked a little too young to play this part. But it is nice because when you learn the truth that this is based on Shia LaBeouf's life, he's playing his father. That's very poetic to me, so that's beautiful. I do feel like at the beginning, when we're dealing with Lucas Hedges in the present, everything's a bit choppy. I don't quite feel it the emotional way I want to versus all the past stuff where I really feel that. The girl character who comforts young Otis was nice, but didn't ultimately do anything for me. But I did enjoy the father-son relationship with the father and the young boy. I feel that as fathers, we need to be more respectful of our children. We are guiding our kids into the future when they become their future self and when they're older. And what we ultimately teach them now will affect them in their adulthood, whether it be positive or negative. And so I feel like as fathers, we need to do the right thing. We need to be friends with our kids, but also put that discipline on them and not hurt them and abuse them mentally, because ultimately, if we do that, it will leave permanent scars on them. And then we're wondering why our kids are so screwed up. It's because of what we did as parents. So we need to start taking responsibility for that. And I think that's the ultimate message of the movie. Other than that, that's all I have to say. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time.